friends, and welcome to Hidden Scriptures Word Study Commentary number 192. This is where we get past the doctrines of men and learn what the Scriptures actually say. Today's title I have is Evidence for YeHoVaH being the Father's name. When we all started to begin this new walk of faith that now includes obedience to the Mosaic Law, the Torah, there was so much we had to learn that had not been taught to us before. Part of this learning process was that we became curious about the Father's name and wanted to learn what his name was and is. We had all been taught from the pulpits of lawless Christianity that the Father's name was Lord or God. But once we came out of and put some distance between us and the influence of the lawless Christian pulpit, we started to understand that what we had been taught in regard to the Father's name, being Lord or God, really did not make any sense because these are titles, not names. Just like in Matthew 28:19, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost are not names, but titles. The Father wants his people to know his name, and when his name has been deliberately and intentionally hidden from us, then it is up to us to search it out and find out what his name is. Yeshayahu, we know him as Isaiah, chapter 52 and verse 6. Therefore, my people will know my name. Therefore, on that day, they will know that I, the one speaking, here I am. Okay, the Father clearly tells us right there that his people are going to know his name. He is going to reveal his name to his people. And part of this attempt of learning what the Father's name is why you are watching this video today. In my own quest to find out what the Father's name was and is, I was always relying on what other folks were calling him and would change my mind according to who I was listening to at the time. But no more. I have decided not to rely on what other people believe the Father's name to be, but to rely only on the evidence that is available to me as a layman. In the previous video, we delved into the topic that the Father's abbreviated and shortened name of Yah should have been in our English language Bibles a total of 49 times. But because of deliberate and intentional attempts had been made way back in antiquity to hide his name from us, we only received it one single time in the Geneva Bible and the King James Version Bible, and we find this only one single time in Psalm 68:4. In the Geneva Bible, it is shown to us as IAH, and in the King James Version, it is shown to us as JAH. This deliberate and intentional attempt to hide the Father's full name from us was even more egregious because the 1890 estimated 6,521 times to the modern estimation of 6,800 times, the Father's full name was removed from the original Hebrew scriptures and replaced with Hashem, which basically means the name, or Adonai. This came down to us in our English Bibles as the Lord or as God. Exodus chapter 3 and verse 15, King James Version. Now, I'm not going to read this. I'm just going to read the highlighted parts, folks, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But we can read in the King James Version that they have the Lord here. And when we look at the Hebrew origination of the word Lord, it is H3068. And I've got the definition right out of the Strong's Concordance right here. H3068, YeHoVaH. The definition tells us to compare H3050, and when we look at that, it is Yah. It is J-A-H in the King James. Of course, we know that there's no J sound in the Hebrew language, so the J is always pronounced as a Y. So it is pronounced Yah. And then the I-A-H, this is the Geneva Bible rendering of the one single time they have the Father's contracted, shortened, and abbreviated name as Yah, I-A-H, pronounced Yah. Okay, so the 1890 estimation of the times that the Father's full name, H3068, was removed is 6,521 times. That's the 1890 estimation. Today's estimation is higher than that. But getting back here to Exodus 3:15 in the King James Version, they took out the Father's full name, and not just the King James, but they all did it. They took out the Father's name that should be there, H3068, and they put in the Lord. And then they go on to say that the Father is saying that this is my name forever. The Lord, this is my name forever? Now watch what happens in the next two verses where the translators took the same H3068, which is YeHoVaH, and they did this. Okay, and this is in Exodus chapter 6 and verse 2 and verse 3. They have the Lord here, H3068, but then in the very next verse, they take the same H3068 and they put in the Father's name, YeHoVaH. Again, there's no J sound in the Hebrew language. Never was, never will be. YeHoVaH. So this is evidence right here that up here, H3068 should have been YeHoVaH because H3068 is YeHoVaH. But they absolutely butchered the word here concerning the Father's name in the intentional and deliberate attempt to hide his name from us. Okay, so you can see what has happened. The translators of our various English language Bibles have taken H3068, which is YeHoVaH, and did not render it consistently the same way every time as they should have. The example above is just one of the 1890 estimated 6,521 times that the Father's name was removed and replaced with the intention of deliberately and intentionally hiding his name from us. But a few times, the powers that be slipped up and inadvertently allowed his name to be seen, as is the case with Exodus chapter 6 and verse 3, Psalms chapter 83 and verse 18, Yeshayahu, we know him as Isaiah, chapter 12 and verse 2, and then again in chapter 26 and verse 4. Here is another example. Exodus 15:3, King James Version linked up with the Strong's Concordance. The Lord, H3068, is a man of war. The Lord is his name. No, it's not. The Lord is not his name. How can a title be his name? It's preposterous and it insults our intelligence. Every time I see the word Lord, I think about the House of Lords in London. Lord is a British noble title for males. Also, my wife and I were landlords for a period of time. So it is foolishness to think that Lord is the name of the Almighty. Okay, but that's exactly how the King James Version has rendered H3068, which is YeHoVaH. They have rendered it as the Lord. Again, H3068, the Lord. is his name. No, it's not. Read Exodus 15 as it should have been rendered to us. Exodus 15:3. YeHoVaH, H3068. YeHoVaH is a man of war. YeHoVaH is his name. That is how our English language Bibles should be rendering this verse. I'm going to say it again. Exodus 15:3. YeHoVaH is a man of war. YeHoVaH is his name. Now, with the evidence we have in the King James Version and in the Strong's Concordance, and as we shall see below, the evidence we have in a few of the pre-King James Bible versions, not speaking for anyone else, but when someone asks what I believe the Father's name to be, I can confidently answer that based on the evidence from the sources mentioned above, the Father's full name is YeHoVaH, H3068. Now, from a layman's perspective, let's look at a few of the pre-King James Bible versions where they apparently had back then an interesting usage of some letters, namely the V, the U, and the I. Okay, so let's go to the 1587 Geneva Bible, Exodus 6:3. Now, I'm just going to point out the highlighted parts here. You can see this word right here. This word is unto, right? But they use a V. Unto, that's a U-N-T-O, but they have V-N-T-O. This is clearly, in our English Bible, this would be Jacob. Of course, there's no J sound in the Hebrew language. So in the Hebrew, this would be Yaakov, or some folks say Yaakov with a V. But the Geneva has an I there. So they have it as Yaakov. Okay, so they use an I, where in English we would use a J. But again, in the Hebrew, there is no J sound. So it is pronounced as Yaakov. Okay, so we're in Esword. We're in Exodus. Let's go down to chapter 6 and then verse 3, complete Jewish Bible, and see if I can find it right here. Remember, I said some folks say Yaakov with a V, and this is what the complete Jewish Bible does. They pronounce Jacob's name as Yaakov. Okay, so we're back in the word study. So I was showing you how they use back in the day, they use a V for a U, they use an I for a Y, Yaakov. So this means, here we go again, unto, they have a V there. So this means that when they have the Father's name, even though it's a U, it's pronounced as a V. And we can see this right here in the very next verse of Exodus chapter 4. In the Geneva 1587 edition, we have in the very next verse, we have a U where there should be a V in our modern usage. This is covenant. They have a U. It should be a V. Up here in the Father's name, they have a U. It should be a V. So this would be pronounced as YeHoVaH. And this is in the 1587 Geneva Bible, YeHoVaH. Okay, here again, the word give, they have a U. It should be a V. So this is without any doubt pronounced YeHoVaH. Okay, so let's drop down to Exodus chapter 6 and verse 3. Same passage, but this is in the 1568 Bishop's Bible. So this is prior to the 1587 Geneva Bible. We had the 1568 Bishop's Bible, and the same thing. They have a V where they should be a U. They have an I that is pronounced as a Y, and then they have a V again down here where there should be a U. But in the Coverdale, we do have a better source in the Coverdale because the word unto, They use a V. Of course, that's a Y, actually a J, but it's pronounced as a Y. And then down here, the word have, there should be a V. They have a U. And then unto, where there should be a U, they have a V. So, it was just old English. That's just the way they did things back then. But because this U really is a V, when we go up here to the Father's name, it is a V, pronounced as a V, YeHoVaH. But I hope you can see what I'm seeing here. Okay, and now we're going to go back even earlier. This is the 1526 Tyndale Bible. Again, the same usage. Okay, the same usage, which proves that the Father's name YeHoVaH. Okay, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we have more examples right here. The word even, well, that's a V, but they have it as a U. Over, that's a V, but they have it as a U. And then the King James, 1611, has YeHoVaH. Okay, and then we have YeShiyahu. Okay, here's what they've done. The Lord, they put in the Lord, but it's Yah. It should read for YeHoVaH is my strength and my song. Let's go and look, okay? YeShiyahu 12:2. This should be H3050 and then H3068. Let's find out. Isaiah 12:2. Okay, we're back in Esword. YeShiyahu 12:2. Let's go to the King James linked up with the Strongs. Now, what did I say? This is L. 410 is L. Behold L. Okay, there we go right there. H3050. Yah. So that verse should read, Behold L is my salvation and my deliverance. I will trust and not be afraid, for YeHoVaH is my strength and my song. He also is my salvation and my deliverance. Okay, and the reason I add deliverance is you can see it right there, deliverance. Okay, and my health. Okay, He is my salvation. He is my deliverance. He is my health. HeAlth. He is my welfare. He is our everything, folks. Okay, but you can see that the King James Version, they took out the Father's shortened, abbreviated name Yah and put in the Lord, but thankfully they put in the Father's full name right here, YeHoVaH. So I love that. For YeHoVaH is my strength and my song. He has also become my salvation, my deliverance, my health, my welfare, my everything. So we're back in the word study here. Okay, let's continue. Okay, then we're going to drop down to 1769 King James Version, YeShiyahu 26 verse 4. Okay, they took out the Father's name and put in the Lord. That should be YeHoVaH because it's H3068. And then they took out the Father's abbreviated name right here, which is Yah, and again put in the Lord. But then they did the right thing here by putting in the Father's full name, H3068. So the way this verse should read and should have come down to us in the English language, trust ye in YeHoVaH forever. For in YeHoVaH is everlasting strength. That's how that verse should have come down to us in our English Bible, but it didn't, okay, because of the intentional and deliberate attempt to hide his name from us. Trust ye in YeHoVaH, H3068, forever. For in YeHoVaH is everlasting strength. Okay, again, that's how the verse should have come down to us, but it didn't. Folks, now I understand that it is unreasonable for us to correct all the estimated number of times that the Father's name was removed and replaced. But if anyone is interested, I will be happy to send via an email a PDF list of all the times that his name was removed and replaced. Just request a PDF copy of this list at allbelieversneedtorah@protonmail.com, and I will be happy to send it to you. Okay, folks, I will leave it here for today, and I hope and pray that this word study commentary number 192 was helpful to someone. I love you guys, and I appreciate you being here and watching these videos that I have been called by the Father to present to you for your consideration. If you are led by the Father to do so, please help me get the truth of His Word out there by sharing these videos with your family members and friends. I look forward to being with you again, Father willing, in our next Hidden Scriptures Word Study Commentary. May Yah richly bless you and yours, and may the light of His Son Yeshua shine in your heart. Shalom.